Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We are great.
It is quiet down in the basement. It's lovely.
I still trip out that you guys filmed down there with everything that you had happen.
Oh, we should take her on a walk over to the well.
We can do that at the end. Yeah, we'll unplug everything and walk
Honestly,
you through.
No,
it is the biggest letdown. Like,
is it really?
people get in their minds like what it looks like, and it's like it's in the ground, and there's a piece of slate on top of it.
Yeah,
and
we have like a 5-foot long slate rock just on the floor.
It's how the house
it's-
came. Like,
Yeah.
like that's how they used to cover it back in the day, you know? Like,
Yeah.
so we never changed it, and I just kind of painted over it so it looks like it's part of the floor.
Hey, I would do the same thing, and I would put furniture over it so nobody ever touched it.
I actually
Yeah.
have a piece. There's like a wooden bench over there. I'm like, no one can go there now. But he took pictures of it before.
I do, yeah.
He
I'll
actually
pull
has
up a picture
pictures of it from before we painted it and before it got blessed, because it looks like something you'd see out of like The Ring. Then, like, it definitely looks horror-esque. But now our basement's wonderful. This is a picture. Now, I want you to know that my basement does not look this horrifying anymore.
Yeah,
so
we renovated it last summer. Last summer we renovated
okay.
it, so
yeah,
it's fine.
years after the fear of it. Okay, so here you go.
All right, so
So can you see it?
There's the well.
Oh my gosh, it's just a hole.
Yeah. So if you actually look down into it, it's actually full of
You can
water.
see the water right there.
And it's beautiful mason work all the way down. Like, it's absolutely gorgeous, except for the fact that it's haunted. You know, apart from that, it's actually very beautiful.
Yeah. That's crazy.
And then the slate that's there, that's what is on top of it. And then they actually built that shelving unit on top of that. So
yeah, they cut
So
the
they were trying
bottom
to keep it
part.
close too.
yeah.
Yeah, they cut the bottom part of that middle support beam so it would fit over
Yeah.
the slate.
That's why I didn't know that it
Okay.
was there for years. I thought it was just because I'm used to old fashioned houses. Like, oh, the floor is uneven over there. All right, whatever, you know.
Moving on.
I didn't know that we had a well. So the joke is,
Wow.
you know, if a zombie apocalypse comes, we're going to be able to survive because we have lots of water. We'll just get a demon. But what's scarier, zombies or demons? I don't know.
Yep.
Well, that's okay. I always say I'm going to be the queen of the zombies because of how many people I had to vaccinate. So
Well, that's
yeah.
true. So, as a nurse, what do you actually do? Are you an LPN, an RN, like a nurse practitioner?
in California, we're known as LVNs, so it's the same as an LPN out
Okay.
there.
Okay.
Okay.
So I call myself a glorified drug dealer
Yeah.
Yeah.
because that's pretty much what we're doing. But out here in California, they made so many changes to the system that we used to be able to be allowed in hospitals, but the RNs didn't like us there because we could do too much of their job.
Mm,
So
You
they
think they'd be
pushed us
happy
out
with that?
and-
yeah.
Yeah, so they pushed us out and realized very quickly how much they needed us, and now they're trying to get us back in. But I work in a skilled nursing facility now, so it's all elderly,
Okay.
and I spent 6 years in an Alzheimer's dementia unit, so completely locked in unit. So when you
Yeah.
guys were talking about Pinhurst, I was like, oh, that's my niche, that's my niche.
Good, because we're going to talk about Eastern State next, and I need you as my medical expert.
Not a problem.
Because you mentioned
So-
the water bath stuff, and they actually did that at Eastern State. I was looking up some more information as we prepared for
Mhm.
that, and I was like, "Guys, I got a question for Jackie for that one." All right, taking notes for later.
Well, and it's funny though, because we still use a lot of those practices. It's not technically a water bath, but if you think about it, like athletes, when they work out, they do their ice bath.
Yeah.
And, and then of course a doctor, when you hurt something, they tell you ice it and heat it. So because the ice helps take away the swelling, but the heat helps bring the blood to relieve the muscles.
So,
So-
fun fact: I never really thought about the heat thing. A couple
Mhm.
weeks ago, I believe my kitchen's out to kill me now, not my basement. So a couple weeks ago, Eli or Alex had his magic tracks out in the kitchen,
Oh,
and
beautiful.
I hit one and I went sliding across the entire floor, and I fell on top of his stool.
Yeah,
his
step stool,
and I cracked my elbow right here. Bad enough that I went down, and the pain was very reminiscent of when I actually fractured my elbow years ago when I worked at Burger King when I was in college. And so I go, and Sophie comes running. She's like, "Mom, are you okay?" I'm like, "Go get Daddy. Go get Daddy." Because I don't like blood, and I wasn't gonna look because it hurt bad enough. I was like, I must have like broken it, and there must be blood squirting. Like, I just in my mind, I had like this horrible fear. He goes upstairs, and I go, "Is there any blood?" No. All right, good. All right. So I was able to look at myself. So I thought that I had actually given a hairline fracture, I was like, I have to go to work tomorrow. I'm not going to worry about this till later. So it wasn't until Saturday that it wasn't getting better and it was in a lot of pain. I was like, fine, I'll go to urgent care after like a week. And she said, even if there isn't a hairline fracture, it's definitely a bone bruise. So I want you to go home, and you've tried icing it all week. Obviously hasn't helped because like the bruise that I had was an entire teardrop around my entire arm. It was crazy.
Oh my gosh.
And you could see exactly where I hit my bone. Like it was very obvious that she's like, there's a bone bruise. But she's like, go home and actually take a really hot shower or a hot bath and get it under heat. Because she's like, I think at this point, if you use heat, it's going to make it feel better faster. And it was insane. I had never, I didn't even think about heat because like I've never put heat on broken things before. It's always been nice.
She's like, just thinking about it makes me nauseous. I don't want to do this right now.
She told me something crazy.
No, she told you the truth.
Darn these nurses and their doctors knowing things. But
yeah, we don't admit that doctors know anything, so we tell them what to do.
My joke is, do you ever take care of children? Because you're an LVN, right?
Yeah, that's the specialty I wanted to go into, but I actually, when I started working there, I fell in love with the patients and the mental illnesses. That it was just that was my place. So I mean, I take care of my own kids, but of course I'm the mom. Get up, brush it off. It's okay, move on.
Yeah. Well, I ask, so I'll make a joke. You're an LVN out there, so I think licensed veterinary nurse, which honestly you could treat children then. So am I not right? How different is it?
That's good.
Thank you. Well, wasn't it Sophie? She said she wanted to be a veterinarian, but then only for 5-year-olds. And I go, you're not wrong. Because in kindergarten, they have like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And she's like, I want to be a veterinarian. She meant pediatrician, but only for 5-year-olds. And I go, yes.
You're very close.
100%. Pretty much the same thing. They're scratching all over the place. They're crazy. Being in corners, Anywho, so it's lovely to meet you. Now that we're done joking around. So what questions do you have for us at the end? But first... I wanted to talk to you first.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Because I find you fascinating. I love when people actually like talk to humans, like not just listening to our podcast.
It's such a one-sided relationship because like we see that people are listening, but no one ever writes in, and we're like, we want to know what you're here. Like why are you listening? So we can cater to that.
Finland, you listen to every single episode. Who are you? I want to meet you.
How do you find us? That's one thing I'm very curious about.
Honestly, I was listening to Amy Brennan's The Haunted Places that she has, and I got really sick of her same old, going through the same. And I was just like, okay, Amy, I get it. You find a ghost everywhere you go. Yeah. So then I came across another one. It was a priest is doing a podcast with another guy about his exorcisms that he does. And some of those kind of freaked me out a little bit. So I was okay, let me back off. Let me find something else. So I kept
too real.
I was like, this is way too, I know this. No. So then I saw yours and I was like, what is the Well House? So I hit it. And then when I started listening to you guys at first, it took me a little bit to get through the first couple of episodes because of the audio.
They're a mess. Yeah. We admit that.
Yeah, I was like, I can't hear what they're saying. And the volume was all the way up in my car. So then after that, I was just hooked. It was so you guys, I listened to you guys on iHeartRadio and all the way to work and all the way home. So
well, you live in Cali, right? So it's like a 10-hour drive to work every day, or because wasn't it Dan lived out there? And to get like half a mile was like forever.
Yeah, in LA when he worked like in at Warner Brothers, and if he started at 9, he would leave at like 7 in the morning to get there because of rush hour. And
it was like around the corner.
Yeah, he was 5 miles away, I think.
My brain, like I can't imagine like sitting in traffic that long.
I live 26 miles away from where I work, and it can take anywhere. On a good day, it takes me about 30 minutes, and on a really bad day, it can take me 2.5 hours. And it depends on if it's a fatality, because then it can take me all day. Geez. So, and then I'm stuck because you're stuck in between off ramps, and you can't even get off.
Yeah, for me, I drive 32 miles to work, and on a bad day, it takes me 45 minutes to get home.
What's funny is yesterday, we drove to Berwick. Sophie wanted to go to this one place in Berwick, and we're driving home. Which is like, I think we'll take the interstate. And I go, well, it is shut down by Light Street. And he's like, oh, we'll be fine. And we're stuck in traffic for 10 minutes. And I was like, I can't do this.
It was 2 miles, and I was dying.
We were dying. We're like, we cannot do this. We should have taken the side roads. Oh my gosh, like just thinking like country versus
And it wasn't
city.
even gridlock. We were just slowly moving.
We were moving the whole
and-
time, but I was just like, this is like Philly to me. I can't. When we go to the beach, we go through Philly, and I'm just like, just to find a place to go off the road. Like, turn on ways. We're going through the side roads. I can't.
Yeah,
Oh.
I have serious road rage. Everybody can see me in the car, but it's like, thank God they can't hear me. But yeah, I'm like, if you would just stay in your lane, this would not be happening.
Yeah, actually, after you messaged us, it made me think. I was like, we should probably put a disclaimer up. So we recorded a little blurb, like, "Hey, our audio's not great, but stick with us, and it gets better." And we put that at the beginning.
Yeah, I read that somewhere, and I was like, okay, I can do this. I can do this.
Well, it's because of you that we best. I'm like, tell her to just pump through the first 4, and then it's good to go.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Because even the one with Jack, like, again, we were getting used to our audio, and we didn't have the good tech we had now. Because this podcast was never meant to last. This was actually a side quest on my part, because I thought it'd be nice for
just to
our
document our
listeners,
story,
but to also learn like who we were behind
Yeah.
everybody, like behind the. I don't know, the audio,
The
I guess, because you
microphone.
don't see us really, We're not behind the screen. So we do Danger and Dice, and PJ does Games Overboard. And it's like, let's do like a side thing where we talk about like our experiences, just so like they know who we are, and we could just do some. We were going to do interviews with everybody, like interviews with Laura and Ray and whatever. And then this just like took off, and like this is actually our most popular of all of our podcasts,
by far.
which is crazy
Yeah.
because it wasn't meant to last.
Yeah.
Which is why we didn't really try on those
Sometimes
first.
these things come out of
I know.
Oh yeah.
But again, those first episodes, we weren't really trying, because we were focusing on
Yeah.
D&D and focusing on Games Overboard. And Games Overboard is still our baby. Like, everything's on Facebook. We asked, like, for people for Kickstarter to come interview with us.
giveaways, yeah.
We even interviewed Jamie Stegmeyer. Like, we've done so. Well, you had interviewed.
That was my favorite.
He's so hot. Like, I don't even. I'm sorry. You know about being a fangirl? My husband's right here. I can't look at him because Jamie Stegmeyer. Anyway, I love you so much.
Oh, you should have seen her when, like, because he posts weekly on, twice weekly on his YouTube channel, and he's the CEO of this multi-million-dollar corporation, things like that, and
I imagine this old like dude, like I don't know, or
Yeah,
like a
and
nerd. I
and
know.
so he pops on the screen on the Zoom meeting, and Shannon's just like. It was so great.
I turned to him and I go, "You didn't tell me he was good
Moment.
looking. I can't get through this." And then he told me he had a girlfriend. I'm like, "Your girlfriend Megan? Tell her she did a great job. Tell Megan excellent choice." I was like sweating. I was like, "I can't be here." And he loves cats.
Yep.
So, anywho, so you're in California. So we love going on the side comments here. You found us randomly. We appreciate that. Back to exorcisms. So one of our favorite priests who actually married us, he was going to be an exorcist priest, but he told us he was in
He
our
studied
story.
in Rome and everything.
But he said when he was there, it was so real for him that he just couldn't complete it. He said they went to one house and they were there to exorcise the house, not the person, right?
I think so.
Yeah, how old are we now? Or we got married, 13-ish years ago? I don't remember. Oh, our anniversary's coming up in a
It
week.
is.
Oh, happy anniversary. I have to buy a present. 13 years.
So do I.
Lucky 13. But he told us when he was here doing our, the first of our blessings that it wasn't going to do anything. They're Band-Aids. But he said they're exercising a house. And as they were saying the Our Father, bloody handprints just went up the walls and there's a ceiling there to a second story. And it kept going through the ceiling. You couldn't see it, but you got the idea that it went through the ceiling up. And he's like, yeah, I was out of that. He's like, I helped, I prayed, and then I left. And he's like, he just couldn't finish it after that.
And then I prayed some more.
Yeah.
And I was like, not for me.
Our exorcism was much more boring than that.
Yeah, much more boring. There was no blood spewing from walls.
Sci-Fi Channel was not interested in our story for a reason.
They were interested.
They were to a point.
That was until the
They just
exorcism.
They got canceled, though.
They did.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, it's like it got canceled.
Yeah.
I remember. I heard that one.
Yeah, we were a back burner. Would have been cool.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't help that we were interviewed literally the day after the family from The Conjuring was on TV.
Yeah.
Like, they were on Wednesday night, and Thursday morning we interviewed with them. And we're like, dude,
You're
we
like,
can't
yeah, we're
compete.
Put us on right after one of your terrible werewolf episodes and we're cool. Like, we'll look so awesome. But do not put us up against The Conjuring. Like, that's just not fair. Oh, no, we did not float in the air. No one pulled our hair. that we know of.
Yeah.
If they did, I thought it was
A good
children.
thing. That's
Yeah.
a good thing.
Yeah.
We'll take it. I'm still a little sore that
I
my.
couldn't imagine seeing what you saw in the basement.
Well, and a fun fact,
That
we're
would
sitting
scare me. I
right
couldn't
where it
imagine.
happened.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we are in the spot where the figure
Oh my gosh.
was.
Yeah.
It was here.
Because
and
I was
then
over
went
at the
that way.
wash machine, so and we'll take you for a little bit of a walk. It looks very nice down here now. You'll see the bright lights and will probably burn your eyes. I apologize. But I was by the wash machine right over, of course, I'm pointing off the screen, so right over there.
I mean, it rotate.
A little bit, yeah. But I was over in that area.
So yeah, circled all the way around, and then and it was making its way that way when she bolted up
Well,
the
and
stairs.
this is the exact location where I realized if I don't get the heck out of here, I'm locked in here because our chimney stack is right there, and it was coming right around the chimney where I was, and I wouldn't be able to leave. So this is the exact location where my brain went get, and I got. So yeah, this is but like I'm not even like afraid of it now. Now that it's painted,
Yeah.
it has a different. And of course, after
And
the
exercised.
exorcism, like it feels so different. But even before it was exercise, I don't want to be down here anyway. Like I came down to do laundry because Mama needs clean clothes, but like that was it. I did not hang out down here.
Mhm. I can't watch horror movies down here yet.
We watched The Witch down here.
Well, I was with people. I'm saying like on my
Oh,
own,
okay.
like because she doesn't watch horror movies that much, so I'll watch them upstairs on the big screen TV.
Listen,
and
I fall
everything.
asleep.
You fall asleep.
I like scary movies. I just like sleep more.
Yeah.
If you could watch
But like, there's
them-
some movies that you'll just like no, like yeah, that you won't.
if it
go
involves
near.
children, I won't. I just can't.
Yeah, well, even like Hell House. I've been trying to get you to watch that one for a
When's
couple
that
years.
one?
It's okay. So there's a really cool one. It's on
Jackie
YouTube.
doesn't believe you.
It's on YouTube and it's on Amazon Prime, and it's like a
This
found.
is us all the time, by
Yeah.
the way. This is not us acting.
It's
This
a
is us.
found footage movie.
But it's fake.
Oh yeah, it's definitely fake.
Okay.
But it's filmed in PA in a what's supposed to be a real haunted hotel. And
There's
so
a haunted hotel. Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Is
it's
it Balleray
about-
or
what?
where is it? I just want to put you on the spot.
Stanton? Is that a place? I think
Stanton
it's
is a place.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
It's Stanton's
but anyways,
place.
so the premise of the movie is that these people are making like a walk-through haunted house for
this
Halloween.
one, yeah.
Oh, I've seen that one.
Yeah, okay, you saw that one. So
well, now I have to
it's
watch
so
it because
good.
Jackie's seen
It's
it.
so good,
Is it good?
except for the end. The end isn't. The ending's
gory.
Kinda dumb.
See,
Yeah, it's just
The
gory.
end is. The end
is
gets a
it
little
just
gory.
like one of those like slaughter fests at the end
No,
just to be scary? Because like I don't. See, I have a thing. PJ wants to do an episode.
Well, that's my issue with Silent Hill.
Yeah, about the scary movies, because I get annoyed by movies that try to have some kind of story. So what's that movie? It Follows,
It follows.
and it was about like STDs and too much sex. Like it was so obvious what they were doing that I was just annoyed. Like
It was very heavy-handed.
I just want to be scared. I don't want a life lesson.
Mhm.
And then there was that one like with the some technology. I know the overall premise was technology can hurt you and social media is bad.
Unfriended.
That one.
Unfriended,
So, like,
yeah.
Or the ones where like the story ends and then oh kidding, like surprise, this person's still alive. And so like why did you end that way? Like it could have
Paranormal
ended.
Activity.
Yeah, I just
The ending of that one was
I just
Spielberg
wanna
made the
be
ending of that one,
scared.
which makes sense.
like I just need Stephen King to do every scary movie and I'll be fine.
But his endings are bad.
Not for The Shining.
Okay, The Shining was good.
Doctor Sleep. So I understand. If you read Pet Cemetery, that is a good ending. Not the movie. Fight me.
Movies are never as good as the books, so
Yeah.
But I think I told you, like it was in the one of the episodes, like I can't watch that movie with the creepy house and Insidious
Insidious.
because of the
baby
piano part,
monitor.
the baby monitor. Like, so some things do trigger PTSD for me,
Mhm.
and like I don't want to watch something that's going to obviously upset me.
Yeah.
So, but I guess since
Where I feel vindicated by that kind of stuff.
yeah, we're looking for a movie that actually showcases the fear that you have in a haunted house. Like that underlying, deep-seated, constant nagging worry that never goes away.
Yeah.
Is that how you'd word it?
Yeah, for me it's like knowing that you are not alone in the house when you are alone, like knowing that there's something else there with you. The early I said this in one of our early episodes, like the first 20 minutes of Paranormal Activity really nail it.
Mm-hmm.
Because like, they're just lying in bed and you hear keys falling on the floor, like downstairs somewhere. And, it's just that little reminder that you're not alone in the house.
Yeah.
You think you are, but you're not. And things like that are just perfect. And I want a movie that does that and doesn't get all bombastic and everything, but then you wouldn't really have an exciting movie.
which is why we weren't chosen for,
Yeah. Exactly. That's it.
No. But it's true like that. Like, I want to get a shower and be alone. Like, I don't want to think that something's looking through, like, something at me.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to... I've had 3 kids. You don't want to see this? Trust me. I don't want to see it. I've got the mirrors fog when I get out of the shower. Anywho.
So it's more like, is it more like an anxiety?
That's a good question. See, because, like, we're teachers, so we're used to people looking at us. And you're a nurse, so you're used to having patience.
Yeah,
like
it's just
so you're never alone.
It's just that knowledge, that feeling of being watched all the time.
And you can, how you can feel you're being watched, you can feel it, and you turn like there's that person staring at you. You know how you get that feeling?
It's that.
All the time.
So it's like anxiety and paranoia put together.
Yeah.
But you're not paranoid.
But it causes a paranoia because you look over and nothing's there, and it's like, where are they? What happened? Where did it go? What is it?
Am I just imagining it?
And you feel like I felt like I was going crazy, and like no one believed me. It
was really vindicating when it happened during our Halloween party because, finally, other people saw it.
I feel terrible, but I was like, does anybody want to stay? Anybody? It's not time for you guys to go yet.
Did Laura and Ray believe you guys when you were telling them all this stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, they believed, they couldn't process it. They
had their own problems at their own
house. They had
their
own things, for sure, yeah. But
they felt bad for us, but they're like, listen, we got our own thing. It's calling the cops on Ray. Like, we gotta deal with this. And but you know what's interesting? His mom and his dad never believed. They didn't believe us initially.
They lived there. They lived in the house, right?
So
the whole family.
I love this house because everyone's lived here. Literally everybody's lived here. So PJ's parents bought the house in '89, and so Jen, who is a part of Liminal Unlimited, and Laura, they all live here. Yeah, we're all around. But so they lived here. Obviously, they grew up here. And Laura said she's had her own stories about the place. Jen never really had anything happen in here. Like, she has no memory of anything ever happening. And PJ's parents will say, things went missing, but when you have a house full of kids, you just assume the kids took it.
On us,
Which I blamed it on PJ initially, so I totally get it.
I blame the stuff I experienced on me being just a stupid little kid half the time.
You hang out with Dan, so...
Before I hung out with Dan.
I hope Dan listens to this. If we no.
Dan doesn't listen to any of the podcasts.
He does all the recordings.
I know he's a co-host of one of them, and he doesn't he doesn't like listening to his voice.
Okay. Well, too bad. When you have to edit, you're like, oh, I sound like that. All right, fine.
Yeah, you get used to it.
Yeah, it's kind of suck it up and go.
The YouTube videos are hard because I don't like. That I'm getting used to is looking at my own face while I'm talking.
Doesn't bother me. I mean, look at this. No. I did enough videos for my students that I'm just used to seeing my face and I just ignore it. But anyway, back to what I was saying.
Yeah.
So then Jen moved out because she went to college and she got a house or apartment or whatever, and she was gone for a while. Mm-hmm. She married her first husband. But then Laura moved back here with Ray because they moved into the attic.
Yep.
And so stuff had happened here with them. They bought their house. They moved out. Jen moved back in with Simon, our nephew. And then Kyle moved in and they had Jack. And they moved out. Kyle had stuff that happened here too.
Yeah, Kyle had some stories.
He has some crazy
shared
stories.
Them.
Yeah, which I'm sure she's heard them. But PJ's parents, up to the day your mom passed away, nothing ever happened in this house to her. And she holds it's probably because she just was always saying the rosary and...
Yeah, she didn't... Yeah, well, and she just... Like The Exorcist said, it just targeted people and it just...
Yeah.
Didn't go near her. It was me, mostly.
Yeah, because you're the youngest.
As the youngin'.
You won. You won. That's all I got. Anyway.
You were the baby.
I was just a little boy at the time.
Yeah, and you were skinny and you had health issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
Anyway. And then I moved in. It's oh, well, hello. You think you like Jesus? Well, let me hop in here and scare you a little bit.
Let me show you different.
Joke's on you. I believe in Jesus even more now, so. That proved you wrong, demon. But it was actually, even with the exorcism, it was so good. It felt so good to have someone here that like understood. And
Yeah, no one who like questioned it, or like even our friends who never questioned it to our face, you know, they we just knew that they didn't quite believe it.
yeah.
So it was that was nice, yeah.
But I just Father Zeta, but I can say his name now because like
He went public.
they used to actually hide exorcist priests because they're like the cool kids, I
Mhm.
guess, in Catholicism.
Yeah.
So you want to talk to them. But they went public because he's done a lot. Like they have to. There's just a lot of demons
With
popping up.
well, yeah, and with everything in the
COVID.
Catholic Church right now, I think they're just full transparency, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he was great. Like he listened to Eli and let us translate because Eli's speech was still terrible then. But he never naysayed Eli. He believed Eli,
Mhm.
everything that Eli said. Like
Mhm.
Eli said, it's like a bad nightmare, and it's like a bad video game, and I can't play. Like it forces me to do things that I don't want to do. And when asked like, what does it make you do? Eli would always cry. He wouldn't answer. And so to this day, we have no idea what it was making Eli do in his nightmares, which makes me sad.
Fortunately, he doesn't remember it.
Yeah,
though.
he has no memory now. So we're not even going to ask.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. No.
so it just kind of, that makes that heart, again, like it breaks your heart as a
Yeah.
mom to not be able to protect
Right?
your kids.
Sophie's almost 12 and she barely remembers it.
Yeah. We won't tell her about what happened in her room either. Because her room's a scary one.
Yeah.
Although with all the audio stuff, all the baby monitor stuff came out of Eli's room. So
hmm
What are you gonna
honestly-
do when they find your podcast? Like, let's say they get older.
They
and start
know it
listening and they listen
exists.
back.
Yeah, they have no
Uh-huh.
interest in my podcast.
Yeah. They don't care.
They don't care about my podcast.
They're not teenagers yet, so they're gonna try and find stuff to blackmail
Sophie
you.
is a teenager, and she has expressed interest. And I asked her if she wanted to come on and do a recording at some point, but she doesn't want to be like on screen. She just want to hear herself talk.
Yeah.
She's very self-conscious. Eli has zero interest in the paranormal because he's afraid of it, and I think that comes out of him. He knows that The Exorcist did prayers over him and put oil on him, so he knows that something happened. He just can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
So he's afraid of scary movies. Like Sophie now wants to watch The Shining and The Conjuring, and I'm like, oh yeah, girl, we got this. Let's do it. Let's watch all the scary movies. And he's like, but don't turn the sound up too loud. I'm gonna go upstairs to my room, and I don't want to hear any screaming. So like, he will never listen to my podcast. Sophie, she has Alexa in her room. She just be like, Alexa, play the newest whatever. Don't listen to me. We have one in the basement, so she's gonna yell at me soon.
Oh.
I'm like, no, she's always listening. She's always on. But our new demon. So she might, and I'm not really worried about it because she's at an age where I think she'll just ask more questions and she won't be scared by it. But Alex wasn't even born, so he'd be like, cool.
I'm gonna blink in this.
He's already a demon. He'd be like, well, that was me before
He's
I was
such
born.
a little monster.
He is.
Oh my
I love him,
gosh.
but I look at him and I go, there's our kid, because Eli is so wonderful and so perfect. Like, just the sweetest.
Yeah.
I don't even he's an angel sent from heaven. Like, I mean, and this is not our parenting. We just got lucky. I don't know what it is. He's just a good kid.
Yeah.
And PTX tells a really good joke about it because Eli, for longest time, I think he still has in his head, he wants to be a gamer ninja priest. And I said, go for it. But PJ said,
Oh, I said that there's no way he could handle being a priest because they'd go into the confessional and they tell him something. He go, oh, "You did what? Oh my gosh!" And I don't know what kind of penance to give
I
you.
hope God forgives you.
And
so
I could
true.
see him saying all that. I could just see it.
He'll be crying, I'm so sorry. I can't believe you would do
I'll
that.
pray for you tonight.
Oh, but he's just
how
so
old is he?
pure. He's 10.
Yeah, he just turned
Oh
10.
wow.
He's
Okay.
just so pure. And he wants
And
to be
Ray,
cool.
Ray does a good impression of if he were to be a lawyer. It's just like, excuse me? Objection? He does a couple
Oh my
episodes
gosh.
of Games Overboard, though. He
does.
recorded a couple of those with
Yeah,
us.
he will listen to Games Overboard because
No, he won't listen.
Well,
doesn't listen
in the
to
future
it.
he will.
Yeah,
Like if
he
if
will.
they were to look up game anything, he look up Games Overboard, maybe D&D, but he's not really interested in Danger and Dice or D&D. He plays.
He tried. Well, he's too
it.
young.
Yeah. But he loves Games Overboard. He's been on 2 of the Games Overboard episodes, actually.
Yeah.
For like 2 seconds. But he's so
That
proud.
brings up a question. So you guys play D&D.
Yes.
And I know people told you guys that it was because of that you had it. Right?
Uh-huh,
You-
Satanic
I know-
panic. Sorry.
I know the Ouija.
Where's
I know
Kyle?
that is that's a gateway. I get that one, but you don't believe anything about the D&D part, right?
No, it's like, because if you ever play it or watch someone play it, like, it's literally improv but with dice, where like the rule of improv is everything is yes and dice can say no to you when you say you want to do something, and that's it. Like, that's all it is.
Okay.
I'm gonna attack the orc. I roll a 1. I fall over my own toes and hurt myself. No. And
Okay.
we played D&D after everything had happened, so there would be like no
that's
possibility.
true. We didn't get into it until, oh geez, yeah, it was like right
Because
after.
when we moved in here, things were already happening because they happened to you when you were a kid, for crying out loud.
But we only started playing D&D
Yeah.
recently too.
Yeah, over COVID actually.
Yeah.
That's when we started. So
God.
so only recent. Yeah. So I mentioned the word. I'm sorry. I remember one of our first
There's my
times.
PTSD.
Yeah.
I remember when we were first playing, I had Alex because he was a newborn and I was holding him like this, and we were playing via Zoom with some friends.
Yeah.
Because before that, we just played board games with like our friends on Saturdays instead.
Yep.
It was just board game Saturday.
Yeah.
Now it's D&D.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I wouldn't, no. And the whole like, if you read Harry Potter, you're going into Satanism and all that stuff now.
Yeah,
I don't-
So that was like some of my questions. It's
Yeah.
funny how people tie everything to a possession or anything like that, and it's just, to me, that's not what it is. It's the vulnerability of somebody, and
For sure.
and I strongly believe in that. And then of course, like places and locations, it depends on what happened there. And
Yeah.
I mean, if you
Like,
get
that's
really
why I
into
like-
D&D or really into Harry Potter, maybe
It
you
becomes
want
an
to become
obsession.
like a magician and look into the occult and stuff. So it could be a gateway.
Well, that's something The Exorcist said too. He's like, be careful with horror movies because, like, if you get to a point where like you're just thinking about them all the time, like you're making this like almost like a mental doorway, allowing things to intrude into your thoughts.
Right.
And so, there is, I just like anything, it's everything has to be in moderation and all that, and monitored.
Well, and what I like to just go back to those priests, think about them, like the other one, I just wish I knew his name. It was something Ukrainian. But
Oh yeah.
I feel like some people are just really connected to that part of the unseen world. And, so I feel like maybe that's why maybe attached to me, like maybe I just I'm like some kind of a conduit, and it's like, hey, look, energy, I'm gonna take that, maybe. I can see why I attached to Eli, because he was the weakest link and couldn't talk. Like that made sense to me, and Sophie was originally the baby, like that I'll get. But it attacked him, like that priest when he went into Eli's room, it attacked him.
Yeah.
And I didn't see it, but PJ doesn't lie. Like, he can't.
Oh no.
He's an altar boy. He can't. But like, just to hear how that happened to him, and for him to, I was there praying, like we were doing a litany of Hail Marys and whatnot, and I had the kids praying. I'm like, come on, guys, and we're there at our prayer station in the dining room, and wasn't showing any fear because I was happy they were there. So I was just like, oh my God, thank God they're here. Like, I was happy.
Yeah.
But he came over and he's just like, I'm sensing a lot of fear from you.
I'm gonna pull up a picture of Father Zeta.
Okay.
Keep talking.
Oh, our yeah, Dumbledore. But this Ukrainian priest was just like, are you okay? I sense a lot of fear coming from you. And I was surprised because like I wasn't like crying, I wasn't sweating, I was just praying, and I go, well, I'm just scared because I can't protect my children. Like that's my
Right.
biggest thing, is this fear that I can't protect my kids, because you can't protect the things that you can't. I can't fight it, like what am I can pray. Obviously I have a prayer station, I pray all the time, but it's still like trying to attack my kids. So, but he just sensed that. And then when he went into that nursery, he got attacked. And so for me, I feel like there's just some people who are connected to that other side. They can just, you're more empathetic, whatever it was. Maybe he was just more empathetic at that point for me. But I just think that's really helpful too.
Yeah.
So,
So when Father Zeta went public, he
I'm always on the news.
yeah, he did a news piece. He did a little interview with them, and
He
so he
did.
tells a couple stories of like the things he experienced and all that.
how long is it? Because it's really compelling, the video. Are you sharing your screen right now?
No, not right
No.
now.
You
We
should
can play it live right now.
You should share
Here.
your screen. Yeah, this is so fascinating to me because, like, for me, it wasn't my house, so it's cool.
You're like, it's okay, it's not mine.
The power of Christ compels you.
They always use that one,
Always.
like always.
The power of
As a
Christ
Okay,
Catholic.
you can hear this, right?
Yeah,
Well, that is a scene from the creepy classic movie The Exorcist about a possessed child. But that is not just the stuff of Hollywood. It also happens in Harrisburg, according to the man whose job it is to chase away evil spirits. Knoebels Amusement Park might be its most famous attraction, but Elysburg is home to a lesser-known haunt.
It's a monastery.
Its chaplain is Father John Zeta, who says Mass every morning in Latin.
It's an experience of holiness, an experience of silence, an experience of union with God.
Helping believers find God is one part of Zeta's job. Chasing away the devil is another.
The bishop said to me, I have something I'd like to
Dumbledore.
tell you. I'd like you to be my exorcist. That was it.
That
Oh my
was
gosh.
2011. 15 exorcists in America then. There are more than 100 now. They attend a yearly conference in the U.S. to share tips and trade secrets. Every 2 years, it's off to Rome for the International Conference of Exorcists, endorsed by Pope Francis.
The name of the exorcist is submitted to Rome. It's kept on file in Rome.
Have you ever seen a demonic possession?
Oh, absolutely. More than one.
Job one, Zeta says, is ruling out mental illness, which weeds out many claims. But there are rare instances.
Case where a person was possessed, and it literally took 4 full-grown men to hold the person down.
Another didn't know Latin, but answered Zeta's questions fluently in Latin. Work of the devil, he insists. And then the local girl with seizures.
The doctors couldn't figure out what was going on. Tranquilizers were not working. They stepped out to consult. They came back in and found her climbing up the wall, literally, like Spider-Man.
In the name of the Father.
Zeta says the Exorcist movie is fairly accurate, minus the head spinning. The church has guidelines on how to perform exorcisms. There's prayer and ritual. The bishop must approve each case.
It burns.
The possessed rarely approve.
When you sprinkle holy water on a person, then they really react. Pretty good clue that this was demonic.
The notion that there are spirits that can take over our body, personally, that doesn't make sense to me. But it's also really, really fascinating. Any questions?
Professor Matthew Sayers teaches religion at Lebanon Valley College.
And I'll take this thing from Christianity.
He was raised Catholic, is now an atheist who doesn't believe in demonic possession, but understands why the Vatican does.
Having an exorcist in every diocese is literally just having a safety plan in place. Having a fire extinguisher in every sort of hallway in the building. We've got one there just in case something comes up.
The ancient art of exorcism is needed in modern times more than ever, according to the Vatican, which says possessions are at an all-time high.
Saint Michael the Archangel,
At every Mass, Catholics are now praying to St. Michael the Archangel.
cast into hell Satan and all the evil spirits.
The prayer specifically asks for protection from the devil.
Amen.
Have you been face-to-face with the devil?
Oh, yeah.
And Zeta says he's never scared because God works through him, and God is stronger than Satan.
There's people watching that's going to say, this guy's nuts.
Thank you.
He's like the chillest guy. But if you can imagine, like, that was Zeta. That was not the Ukrainian
Yeah, there are two
priest.
of them. It was him and someone from the Eastern Orthodox sect.
Because something that's true, he said in The Exorcist, you see it, you never go alone. You always have a second there with you to keep the prayer going. And they both took turns.
Yeah, they'd
exorcising.
rotate in. So when one stopped praying, the other one immediately picked it up wherever they left off. They never stopped the entire time.
But if you can imagine, you saw Father's Day now. He imagine him like he's Dumbledore. He's dressed up in his Catholic exorcist garb.
All the robes, white and gold on top of the black collar and everything.
And he had to go and bless the outside of the house as part of the ending of the service. And he didn't have any more holy water because they used up all of their special exorcist holy water on our house. And they came in with a wine bottle
big
full.
old
Like it was a
bottle.
big old thing. So he's like, oh, we can just use incense. That's cool too. It's actually better for you. We'll use incense. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Because we're Catholic and I actually hate incense. Fun fact. But he takes it outside and
Yeah, so we have the incense thing and
the
smoke is
censer.
coming up.
It's called a
the
censer.
Censer.
I know my words.
And he's all in the robes, and we step out onto the front porch, and literally across the street is the fire hall. and every bay door is open with over 100 people all sitting at folding tables because it's the clam bake and gun raffle.
Gun raffle. I can't.
And so they all, even like the guy working the microphone, they all stop and they're like,
it's just them Haydens. It's cool. Oh, crazy.
And so
Haydens.
Father Zeta turns to me, a big smile on his face. He goes, "Have fun explaining this to the neighbors."
That's funny.
And then when they were all done, like, I'm not the incense person. I'm a Eucharistic minister. I got Jesus, but I don't do incense. And so they give me the incense thing at the end. They go, well, you need to go put this somewhere and like put it out because it could burn your house
Charcoal.
down.
Yeah.
And I go, but what do I do with it? Because like for me, like I take care of the Eucharist. You can't just dump it down a drain. So I'm like, this must be holy. What do I do with it? And the Ukrainian priest's like, he's going to put it on the back lawn. It's fine. And I was like, listen.
I would have thought the same thing.
This is an
I
exorcism.
really would have thought the same thing.
This is an exorcism. Oh, fun times.
Wow.
And now I have no problem singing in our basement. When you've been through this.
Yep.
So let's go back to you. That was a long thing. So you are a mom of 7, you said. I appreciate. I appreciate.
My mom is a child of one of 7.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I come from a mess of a family.
Yeah.
My mom and dad got divorced, and my dad remarried twice. His third wife, so the second stepmom that I had, love her. I call her my step monster. Shout out to Jen. Different Jen. Lots of Jens in my life. But she has 3 kids, and so I have 3 brothers there. And Patrick and I love Patrick, and his wife, Alyssa, the best.
Oh, they're so great.
They gave me 2 beautiful nieces. And then my mom married my stepdad, Tom, God rest his soul too. And Tom had 4 children in a previous marriage.
Okay.
So I got 3 brothers and 1 sister on that side. I got 3 brothers on my dad's side. And so, yeah, that's 7.
And 2 biological
and
brothers.
then 2 biological brothers. Oh, it's crazy. So, like, nieces and nephews. I have grandnieces now, too. It's crazy.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I turned
I'm
30.
I'm going to say I was one of 6. And then about 3 years ago, thank you so much, 23andMe, I found out I have a brother who is 8 years older than me.
And wow.
And then about a year after I found him, I found out I have a baby sister. So now I am one of 8.
Oh my gosh.
But isn't that wonderful, though? Like, I just want family. That makes me happy. I would love to hear that.
Well, it's funny because none of us are full siblings. Like, we're all half siblings.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the personalities and things like that. And even the one that we just found about 3 years ago, a lot of stuff he says and the way he looks and things he does are the same as the rest of us. And I'm just like, how? You never even knew about us. And my mom, the weird story behind him is my mom and his family that adopted him, they lived in Michigan. And my mom came out to California for a better life. She ended up getting pregnant out here, and his family came out here, and she was like, I can't have another baby. I have 3 kids. So she gave James up for adoption. And his family came out here and adopted him, and they literally lived in a town close to each other in Michigan. So I was like, what? Yeah.
Wow.
And him and I were the only 2 out of all of us that were born in California. And it was just, the similarities were so crazy. And then my kids, my oldest son is 25, maybe 20. I don't remember right now. Too many numbers to count. And then I met my second ex, and he had 3 kids as well. So I have Angel, Diana, Seth, and Alex, who are all my older kids. And then we had 3 kids together. So my babies are at home with me. I call them babies, but they're teenagers.
Yeah.
I have a literal 3-year-old, so just rub it in. Rub it in.
Teenagers are harder.
We found that out with 6th grade graduation.
Do you have any questions for Jackie?
Yes, I
okay.
did. So about Pennhurst first, how do we do with the medicine part of it?
You're the
other
doctor.
than misstating
Electric shock therapy.
Other than using the wrong abbreviation.
I
there.
was reading off of my script.
Yeah. But other than that, how do we do medically?
You guys are good. You were doing great. It was just I think the only thing that I would say to try and do different when you touch base on especially older medical stuff is like when you guys were talking about Gettysburg, how that taught us a lot of the sterile or the more sterile technique. It really didn't.
Really?
Because they still used a lot of the brutal surgery stuff along, even in Pennhurst. So as we learn things medically, it's still a very Neanderthal way of doing things.
Do you think it didn't teach them, or they just didn't care?
I think that they were not clinically trained. If you look at it, licensing boards they didn't really come into play until like 1927 for doctors. So yeah, that's an early phase, but what were you monitoring? We didn't have the monitoring systems that we do now. Even today, some of the stuff that they do is still brutal, and you're just like, why would you do that to somebody? But it's how we learn to take care of things.
Yeah.
That's why like the medical profession is always growing and changing, and education is always a big thing. And as a nurse, we have to re-educate ourselves every 2 years and prove that we've done something, so we're up to times with it to get our license.
Us too.
So I don't know if you guys have seen on Netflix the show about the doctor. He was a surgeon, and I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but he pretended to be a surgeon, like he supposedly had passed.
Oh, Dr. Death?
Yes, that one.
Yeah, it's on
I watched The
Peacock.
Good Nurse.
I think it's on Peacock.
Oh, that's a bad one too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I learned a lot with that.
With Christian Slater and Alec Baldwin, they were in it. They did a movie version of it, or a TV show, dramatized version.
This shit's on Netflix too. It's a movie then on Netflix, or is it a documentary?
It's a documentary.
Yeah, there's a documentary I saw. I didn't watch the documentary.
Talking about he started in like a hospital in Florida. He was supposed to be a surgeon, and he performed all these surgeries, and like he would leave the sponges in the patient. He would like perform surgery in the wrong spot. He would all of these things. And right as they started to report him, or they were catching on to what he was doing, he would leave the hospital and go to another hospital. So that hospital wouldn't report because it looked bad on the hospital.
Yep, just like the Good Nurse.
So he went to like 6 or 7 different hospitals doing this before he actually was caught, because it took 2 doctors who didn't care if they lost their reputation to actually report this man. And that's what's crazy, is like the reporting system is just so jaded.
Well, and it costs so much money too. Like you mentioned, like, this doctor going to all these different places. It's the same thing for teaching. Now, it's gotten better. It's not where it needs to, but it's gotten better. But I remember when I got my first job, I was told that I was hired to cover 3 different people who had all left. They didn't explain what the left was. I found out later that, one of them did retire. One of them did go to elementary school. The other one was helped to get a job elsewhere.
Dr. Christopher Dunch, by the way.
Dunch?
Yeah.
It sounds like a douche.
That's the one.
Dr. Death.
Dr. Douche. Oh, Dunch. Sorry. But like we have this issue in it. Well, we used to have this issue in education where you would put it into help them get a job elsewhere, because then it was that school's problem because they had tenure, or the union was going to come after you and you didn't want to have to deal with the union because the lawyer fees, you couldn't afford it. It's still the same way with principals.
Yeah.
I think people are so afraid of litigation in America that they won't do their jobs. It's disgusting.
Exactly.
And
I think
who does it hurt? It hurts your patient. It hurts the students.
That's another thing that we've been taught recently. Like when I went through nursing school not too long ago, it was you always try to reorientate to the patient to place and time. So if they're in a delusion that they're back 20 years ago, it's no, it's 2023, and you're supposed to do that. It aggravates more. So now the new technique is sometimes you have to go with the delusion just to get them to calm down. So if a patient is saying, hey, I need to leave, I got to go pick up my kids, I got to get on the bus. Okay, well, how about we go get your lunch first and eat, and then we'll go to the bus.
We got to get your shoes on, yeah.
Yeah. So you work with the delusion. And I think back then they didn't know how to work with the delusion because a lot of the teachings did come from, and now I cannot remember her name, but she's like the grandmother of
Dix. Dorothea, yeah.
Her thought process was
I remember things. All right, back up. Got a brain.
They have to be reorientated, and they have to know where they're at now. But I had an old man who literally would try to beat the crap out of everybody. Was the sweetest old man. He was a little bit of a pervert, but he was a sweet old man. he would try to beat the crap out of everybody. And when finally I got somebody in who spoke Korean, he told me, I have to find my brother. And I was like, what do you mean you have to find your brother? He's not here, Mr. Kim. And he goes, no, he stole my money and my land. I want it back. So he was searching the building for his brother, thinking he was back in Korea. So, you know, they're transferred into a whole different area, you know, and it's like, I had a lady who was schizophrenic who would do the same thing. She would just snap and be someplace else. And it's like, okay, where are we today?
Wow.
And I feel, because, you know, we're teachers and we say this all the time, like in our podcast, I feel for people in the medical profession, because you're going through the exact same situation. There aren't enough of us. People left because they retired because of COVID, or they died because of COVID. And nobody wants to have that conversation, because you want to be on one side of the pendulum, like COVID is or isn't. You know, there's that weird dichotomy in our United States right now. People are fighting over COVID still after 3 years. Like, just stop. Like, who cares? Like, we need workers. Shut up.
Right.
But like, we had this huge exodus of teachers because of COVID, but also burnout. All those years of being pushed to limits. And
one of my friends just quit. It was her 4th year of teaching, and she is no longer a teacher. She's finding another profession.
And an amazing teacher.
Yeah.
All the stuff that I've heard about this teacher. I had a student who came to me. She's a pre-service teacher. And the things that she told about this teacher, I was like, well, am I not good enough? Like, is this teacher better than me? But I heard amazing things, and so it breaks my heart. But you can get paid more to do less of their jobs. I'm sure you feel the same way, you know?
Same thing with nursing.
And
with
nursing
right now, it's just horrible.
There aren't enough nurses. There aren't enough doctors. You know, it's skeleton staff. So that was an issue before even. I know, because I have cousins who are nurses, and I've heard about the skeleton staffing and the 12 to 16-hour work days sometimes for some of these nurses. Good Lord. And putting you guys like in extra rooms to sleep and then go back to work. Because my one cousin, I'm not going to say her name on the pod, but she worked, they have like an extra, it's like a wing where you guys get to sleep at some hospitals.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Like, it's awful.
The hospitals have that. We don't.
That's scary.
I know our first outbreak of COVID. So I was the director of staff development, which means I educated everybody in the building. But in California, you have to have, in a skilled nursing facility, you have to have 40 hours for a DSD, which was me. So I would work my 40 hours. But when we had our first outbreak, somehow we miraculously made it through the first 11 months without having any patients turn up positive, no staff, nothing. We did really, really good.
Nice.
And it was really sad because we were watching all of our sister facilities fall, and one of them was another Alzheimer's dementia unit. They were the very first ones out here, skilled nursing facility, that had COVID, so they were all over the news. But when we got it, it took out, I want to say, 46 staff members all at once. So we lost 46 of our staff. And then our patients, the entire building got sick. We were a 130 bed facility, so the whole building got sick. Because how do you want me to keep people in a room that wander? I'm sorry. They're not going to wear their masks. They use it as hair bands. They use it as chin guards. They're Alzheimer's and dementia patients. They don't do it. So
sounds like our students too.
Yeah. So we had that, and then we ended up losing 21 patients. They passed because of COVID, but
well, they're older too.
It was crazy. And it was insane listening to all of the naysayers saying that it wasn't real and it wasn't this. And I'm like, being a nurse working through it, I can tell you 100% it's real.
Yeah.
And it's terrifying. And it was such a new thing to us that we didn't know how to deal with it. Instead of preventing things and making people comfortable, we were putting out fires.
Just
nonstop.
reacting.
Yeah, it was all reactive. It was never anything. I did not get to be an experienced nurse. It was, oh my God, what fire am I putting out next? Please, God, just let me make it through the shift without anybody dying. And you've got one patient whose oxygen levels are dropping and this and that, coming off of the day before you worked 18 hours because you worked a 12-hour shift, and then I actually had to do my real job. So I was working from 7 o'clock at night till 7 o'clock in the morning as a charge nurse, doing medication and taking care of the floor. And then I would stay over until almost 12 or 1 o'clock in the afternoon to be the DSD to do things because that's how short it was. And then people just started quitting.
Oh, yeah.
And, the numbers just dropped even more. And then registries started popping up and paying people out these outrageous amounts of money. And it was like, so now everybody wants to work at registry, and it's like, you're not understanding. It's crippling to everybody. It's crazy.
A lot of teachers, same thing. A lot of teachers just left the job because we realized over COVID that we could teach from our houses, you know, and like do a better job and get paid more. And like for me, I'm wearing yoga pants right now because you only see the top half usually. So like a lot of our friends went online teaching, or they wrote novels, or they got their masters and stuff. So our one friend, he actually has his EDD. He has his doctorate in education. He's done. He left
This
teaching.
was his last year.
This is his last year. He's done. And he's our age. He's going into something else completely. So it's COVID broke a lot of people. That I think we got to. We also got to see the world through a different lens. Something that the French like make fun of us for. Every other country, like they'll say, we live so we can, like we don't live to work like you guys. You know, we work so we can live. So we get to enjoy everything else. Well, like we come in at 10 o'clock in the morning, not 7 o'clock, you crazy person. And we're gonna work, and we're gonna earn money in, and then we're gonna go live our lives. But we like live to work here in America. And so I think we got to see the other side. Like I always make a joke. Out of everyone in the family right now, we're the only ones who drive into a job every day. Like, out of all the Haydens. Oh, wow. Everyone else works from home. Like Laura and Ray work for universities, and they go into their offices
twice a week
if they have to.
Like, if they have to, yeah. Laura has to twice a week. Yeah. Ray can choose, I believe. Yeah.
Because a lot of our jobs we can do from home now. Now, obviously, we can't. You know, you got to go see your patients and give them shots and check their charts and make sure they're not wandering halls. We have to corral children into classrooms and teach them something. But like, it's just interesting. Like, we're the ones who are still on the front lines of this, you know? We've had COVID so many times now that I'm like, yeah, I've already got vaccinated, but I've had COVID too. It's what I'm just done. Like, I think I'm at that point where I'm got a burnout. I'm like, I don't even care anymore. Like, COVID's real. I've had it, and I got the vaccine, yes, and I still got it. Whatever. It's real. And I got really sick. All right. Let me just tell you right now, I should have been in the hospital. I got really sick. Like, I can tell you it's real. But moving on, get people in our jobs or figure this out. But I think COVID helped people realize I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to, you know, like live to work. I want to work to live. And so a lot of our friends have chosen to live their lives and be happy, even if it is a pay cut. But most times for teaching, it's not. You can get paid way more to do way less.
Oh, yeah.
If you're a teacher, you're doing it because you love your job and you love your students. And that's where we're at, you know. And I'm not sure about nurses. I've only ever known that nurses make more than me. So I'm not sure what it is like over in California.
I think now, well, the cost of living out here is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
We don't get paid money for Well House. I just enjoy it.
No.
Like I said, it was never meant to be like what it is now. I'm actually really happy that it's listened to. I'm glad people enjoy it, like you do, obviously. I enjoy researching, and I always have lots of ideas. I have a whole thing behind the green screen here of backstories, and I have extra like Google Drive documents full of ideas.
Yep.
She does. I've seen them.
I believe it.
I am very I'm an English teacher. I'm very research driven. When I don't feel like writing on my dissertation, I go, let's look at Eastern State. All right, over here, a little over here.
I have to tell you, emailing you, intimidates me because you are an English teacher. I'm like, I don't use French.
You should see my text.
I use the wrong spelling on everything.
I've seen her text.
Yeah, no. This is when I'm off duty. I am me. Like, the texts are awful. Like, even my autocorrect makes the THR now because I spell it wrong all the time. It actually like autocorrects wrong. No.
Yep.
After school hours, it's me.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm sorry. I had to rewrite it.
Sometimes I look at my students and I go, this is horribly written, but I don't have time for this. B+. No. No, I'm kidding. I fix it, but.
Well, before we say goodbye, though, we have to show the well.
Yeah, you do. Are you going to pull the lid off?
No, I'm not going to open the lid.
No, don't do that.
Yeah, don't let the boo-boo. No.
Don't do that.
But we'll do that before we say